Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and today I thought we'd have a quick look at this. Basically, I've been up in the attic. I was looking for a keyboard and mouse so we can start having a quick play with that Mac Classic I picked up the other day. And while I was up there looking for them, I stumbled across my Macintosh LC. Now, if you remember, a number of years ago now, I did a video on this LC, and we rebuilt the power supply in it and got it to fire up, but the monitor wasn't working. I think I might have done a video or a couple of videos on trying to get the monitor for it to actually work, and I must admit I've not put a huge amount of effort into it. It's one of the little low res, I think it's like 10-inch or something monitor, and the monitor powers up, the screen fires up on everything, but you can't get a signal through it. I have probably changed about 90% of the capacitors in that monitor. They are all pretty bad. I'm probably just missed a couple of bad caps, or one of the cap's gone and it's taken an op amp or something like that out. I'll probably at some point delve back into that monitor. But anyway, while I was rummaging around for my stuff, what I found was a Mac to VGA style cable. And I wonder if I can test that 15-inch multi-scan monitor I picked up with the Quadra. So anyway, I dug that out. Unfortunately, I thought I'll dig this out because I know this at least powers up. I've never actually seen it display anything, but it went from being a completely dead LC to when you fire it up it bings and you could hear the hard drive trying to boot. So I thought at least it's going to be better than nothing. So anyway, I dug this out. I dug the cables and everything out, and I had it hooked up to that I said that 15-inch multi-scan that I picked up, and that's got issues. We'll do a completely separate video on looking at that monitor, but that monitor does have some big problems with it. Hopefully not insurmountable, but it does have some problems. But anyway, since I had all this out, I just as an experiment actually, I just wondered what would happen if I used the cable and try just plugging it up to a modern LCD display. Now, this shouldn't work, and I've probably got about 7 or 8 displays lying around me now, and this is the only one this seems to do this on. And if you remember from my previous video when I was playing with them scan converters, this is that monitor. Actually, I raked it out of a skip. If you've noticed, I have actually given it a clean up and managed to get the paint off the screen and what have you. There's a bit down here I haven't been able to remove. I'll have another crack at that, but I managed to get the screen reasonably decent. Like I said, this was the one monitor that when we connected the Amiga up to it through the scan converter, apart from the fact it had this really annoying thing floating around the screen saying, out of sync or out of range or unidentified or whatever it said, the picture was really nice on it. No flickering, nice and crisp. So anyway, I connected it up and I'll show you. Obviously, we get a bing from the Mac. Obviously, it takes a little bit of a while to fire out them. This is another of these Macs that's slated as one of the worst Macs ever made. But if we look here now, we have a mouse cursor, we have a nice happy smiley Mac. It works brilliantly. I can't explain why it works brilliantly, because in all intents and purposes it shouldn't work. It's just a bog standard VGA, widescreen LCD monitor. It's probably about 10-12 years old, something like that, because I literally raked it out of a skip. But this LC is displaying, decent on it. It's certainly usable. It's very usable, actually. If you notice any flickering going down the screen on this video, I can assure you there's absolutely none of that on the actual image itself. It's rock steady. There's no scan lines, there's no flickering or anything. It just seems to work. It's quite bizarre, really. But anyway, we've got a working Macintosh LC. A bit like the Quadra is, and it wasn't Apple's finest computer, shall we say. This one's maxed out at a massive 10 meg of RAM. It's got, I think it's got 2 meg on board, and it's got 2 4 meg sims in it. Now, like I say, I believe that 10 meg was the maximum you could have in these things. It's got a 40 megabyte quantum SCSI hard drive in it, 3.5 inch quantum SCSI hard drive, and it amazingly still works. I've not, like I said, I can't remember if I've recapped this or not. It's still got its original Apple battery in it, and I have taken it out, I have checked it, and there's no sign of corrosion or anything on it at all, and it's still got a good, you know, like it's showing like 3.2 volts or something like that. It's still got plenty of power in it. If it shows any sign of corrosion, it will be removed very quickly. Fortunately, and this is another nice thing, I mean, I bought this computer, it was just before all this stuff started getting really a bit pricey. I picked this up local to me, Mosley I think I picked it up in. And I bought this and the monitor, the keyboard and the mouse, and I paid a tenner for the lot. And like I said, it wasn't working, and we've got this working, but because I didn't have a working monitor, I've not been able to do anything with it, and because I've got lots of other projects, it just got kind of like shoved to a back, you know, into a back corner somewhere. But I drugged it out. I dragged. Sorry. I don't know what happened to my phone, my tongue went. I dragged it out, and it appears to work really nicely, actually. I mean, for as nicely as these work. I don't know a huge amount about these Macs. I had an LC in the late 90s that I took as a Part X on a, I think it was like a Pentium 120. I had a lot. What I used to do back in the late 90s, this is when I was at college, I used to go to the auctions and I used to buy a pallet of ex-corporate PCs. Usually, back then, they were usually either Pentium 90s or Pentium 120s, and they would be ex-office computers, so they would be pretty bog standard. And what I used to do with them is I used to put a 56k modem in them, sound card in them, CD-ROM drive, and basically sell them as multimedia starter PCs. I used to make I used to make enough money to see myself through college doing that. And I used to occasionally take computers in Part X. That's why I ended up with lots of Amstrad, old Amstrad PC 1512 and 1640 bits back then, because I used to perhaps knock a tenner off or something for whatever old computer they was getting rid of. And I did have an LC that I took as a Part X. It would have been about 98, 99 or something, and I didn't keep it for very long. I must admit, I flipped it. Someone wanted a Mac LC to do a particular task, and I just flipped it for a little bit of profit and sold it on to them. And this is the only other time I've really had any interaction with one of these LCs. Let's get in here. Fortunately, one of the nice things is there wasn't a lot of personal files on here. There was just a couple of personal files which I just dragged into the trash folder and got rid of. So all we've got is basically the software that the person that used the computer back in the 90s used on it. It's interesting, it only shows it's like 26.1 megabyte in disk. I presume that doesn't include like the operating system then, which I guess is on the hard drive. It seems to be running System 6. think the one that I had last was running a slightly newer version of the system software. I'm pretty certain it was all in colour, as where even though this is colour capable Macintosh, it's all in black and white. So is System 6 like more appropriate to like the classic and things like that? In which case there might be possibility that we can rebuild a hard drive for the classic, possibly using this and the System 6 that's on here. So I'm not massively familiar with how you do like hard drive installations on these early Macs and stuff like that. I know it's completely different to anything PC based. It's all drag and drop and what have you. There's nothing nothing typing anything in. Excuse me. But yeah, basically we've got what I think was essentially used for a bit of desktop publishing or something like that. We've got ClarisWorks on it. I think that's about it really. The Adobe Dimensions wasn't on it. That was just a case of I've got, again, this was a car boot pickup a few years ago. I picked up a couple of disc boxes. I think I paid 50p each for them, and a bag of assorted computer cables. Anyway, it all turned out to be Apple stuff, and I'm annoyed actually. There was a lot more of this, mostly fonts discs, and I bought them just because they look like they've been kept nicely. There's no fungus or anything, fungus growth on any of them, and I just bought them as useful blank discs. Fortunately, I didn't format any of the ones that actually had, you know, labels, proper software on them. But we've got Adobe Dimensions, all the install discs. And I was just really testing the floppy drive out and what have you on this, but that all installed perfectly. That installed on the computer. Unfortunately, you need a serial code to activate it, and I don't have the serial code, so I'll probably just delete that back off there. But at least it proved that the disk drive is fully operational on this computer. It's really weird. It's the first time I've experienced that when you're installing software and it spits the disk back out at you and asks for the next disk. Because obviously, you know, these Macs, they have a electronic disk eject. So you put your first disk in and start the installer, and then when it wants its next disk, it spits that disk out and says put, you know, whatever disk it wants, and then it spits, you know, until the installation's complete. We've got Aldous PageMaker on there, so yeah, I'm pretty certain this was used in the 90s as a desktop publishing computer. But I mean, the real reason I'm making this, was making this video, was just to show it working on this AOC LCD monitor, or LED monitor, and I really don't know why it's working, because all we've got is just a straight Mac video cable to VGA cable. There's no converter box, there's nothing in line. I mean, I know you used to be able to run these Macs on a VGA monitor, but you used to have to use a little like switch box, which I can't remember what it did, whether it put some resistors in different lines or whatever. But we've not got anything like that connected up. We've literally just got that plugged straight into that, and it's working, which is most odd. I've tried all the other LCD panels that I've got kicking about around here, and none of them will even show anything. All they ever show is, you know, out of range or incorrect signal or something like that. This just fired straight up and worked. I've got a few games. That's one nice thing with these boxes. There was a few games in here. Nothing that I'm really likely to pay. Yahtzee. I've got Mastermind. Oh, I've got some stuff here. Let's have a look at what this is. I think where whoever had this these disc boxes, like I said, that I bought from the car boot, they must have had a similar computer to this, because everything I've tried from these disc boxes has seemed to have loaded on this computer. There we go, games. It does, I mean, that also means is that we have got at least a little bit of software that we can try on the Mac Classic if we can get the Mac Classic to work. What's these? So we've got 8-ball, Bert, Brickless Plus, Landmines, Mac Cubic 32, Mac Snails, I wonder what that is. Mines 1.0, Othello, Risk. Let's see what Mac Snails is. Are they going to do anything? Let's have a look. So what do you do? Tracks. Okay. I haven't got a clue what you're meant to do. Seems to have 2 lines. Some of these old Mac games certainly look I don't even know what I did to win there. Some of these like old Mac games, early Mac games, are certainly a little bit on the weird and wonderful side, I must admit. They're a bit basic, shall we say. Landmines, I wonder what that is. Let's have a quick look at landmines. I won't bother with a readme. Oh, is it? It's basically Minesweeper, isn't it? Is it Mac Minesweeper? Yeah, it's Mac Minesweeper. What Bert is? Bert. Okay, I haven't got a clue what it is. Game, new game. Oh, it's Qbert. Oh, wow. Qbert for the Apple Mac, right. Well, it's something Qbert-like anyway. Can't quite figure out what the keys are, but... No, I haven't been able to fit... Oh, hang on. Well, sounds good on it anyway. I think that's enough for that, but yeah. So we've got Qbert, or at least a clone of Qbert on the Apple, on this Mac. I think I might have to stick that over onto the hard drive and have a play at that later on. Actually, let's stick that over onto the into the hard drive. It shows that the hard drive's working as well. What I haven't figured out, I'm thinking I might be able to do it with my bridge computer. I've got a memory stick here now full of old classic Mac software that I managed to download online. So what I'm hoping I can do is use my bridge PC to get this onto some Mac formatted 1.44 meg discs, and then see what other software we can actually get to run on this computer. And then we'll move over on to having a play with that Mac Classic. So I'm really eager to see if I can get that Mac Classic up and running. Now we've got another Mac that we can perhaps do a few diags with. This does have an external SCSI port on it, and I do have all the cables and an external SCSI enclosure, or at least the connector and everything, that we could perhaps fire up the hard drive that we don't know whether it works or not in that Mac Classic, and also the hard drive out of my other Mac Classic, and see what's on them using possibly using this. And like I say, we might even be able to use this to create a new bootable hard drive for that Mac Classic if that's necessary. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. Let's see if that's copied across so I can load that from the hard drive, because I'm sure it'll be a damn sight faster to load from the hard drive. Let's have a look now. It's down there. That should load nice and quick now, hopefully. Yeah, that loads a bit faster, doesn't it? Running off the hard drive rather than floppy. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to leave it there for now. I think I'm going to spend 10 or 15 minutes playing a bit of Bert on the old Macintosh LC. So hope you enjoyed that little rambly update. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.